My name's Leah, and I just came back from 5 months studying abroad, being an exchange student, and now that my time is up, there are definitely things I wish I knew about before coming there. And as someone who, prides herself on liking K-pop, being a K-drama watcher and stuff, I thought I was as prepared as I could be. Clearly I was wrong. There was a lot more I wish I knew. So today I'm going to talk about 10 things I wish I knew before coming to Korea, studying abroad there long term, especially as a Black girl. Without further ado, let's get into it. Number one, the air quality is really bad. And I definitely knew this before coming to Korea. I knew that in East Asia, a lot of people wore masks just because of how bad the air was. But actually experiencing it firsthand, wow, was nothing like I could have imagined. I came to Korea like mid-February because I was there for the spring semester, so March to the end of June. And that first month, I was actually dying. Pretty much me, everyone in my program for study abroad, we were going to the clinics like every single day because it presented as a crazy cough. I have asthma, so it was like 10 times worse for me. I was taking my inhaler like every day. Went to the doctor, he said, "You have bronchitis." Bronchitis? Because of the air quality? What? Most of the days, we'd have to check our, the weather app and see what the air quality would be, usually in, the 100s. Sometimes it got to the 200 or 300s. It definitely got better as the months got warmer and everything. I finally brought an air purifier, which I definitely should have done earlier when I was actually dying. But yes, I would definitely recommend being prepared for that. Bring good quality masks because those thin ones are not going to do anything if the air quality is really bad. Also have an air purifier. If you have asthma, this is even more important, speaking from experience. But talking about the coughing I was experiencing with this air quality, it was even worse when I get into my next point, which number 2 is the difference between the schooling system in Korea compared to the US. I go to Howard, AHU. But first thing, attendance is mandatory. It's so important there. And I'm not saying I'm a bad student back at home and I be skipping. I know, but sometimes I'm skipping class, I'm gonna be honest. I still get good grades, but sometimes I skip. You can't do that in Korea. At Korea University, where I went, the school policy was you can't skip more than 1/3 of your total classes. For me, most days, I would have a class at least 2 times per week because we usually had Fridays off, or I would have a class 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. And so pretty much 1/3 of that is I could miss up to 7 to 10 classes or 20 classes if it was 4 days a week. They're very strict with it because if you skip more than that, it's an automatic fail. Very serious about attendance. So most people actually ended up saving their attendances until the end of the semester or whenever they wanted to travel out of the country. Sometimes I wasn't feeling well or I was sick, so I would skip. So I don't know, I think saying it out loud, it wasn't that crazy. I don't know, living it, I was like, dang, I gotta keep track of my absences. But it's not that bad. Second thing is how they weigh the grades. Like I said, in America, most classes will have unit test 1, unit test 2, unit test 3, some homeworks and everything. In Korea, we only had the midterm and the final. That was it. That was all our grade relied on, was those 2 tests, which weigh very heavily. I had a couple classes that had weekly assignments or a group project or something, but besides that, it was very heavy on those 2 tests. So you gotta take this very seriously. During those midterms and final weeks, everyone is locked in. And it's also very important because you have to hold yourself more accountable because you're not gonna have tests to test your knowledge. You gotta do all that. So in terms of the grades, I was stressed as heck. And so genuinely, it was hard. I was not doing it on my midterms. However, I think they covered like crazy because I ended up, thank goodness, passing all my classes, got, an A+, 2 B+, and a B. So I'm very happy with that. Yeah, so despite, how limited the chances are for you to really get your grade up, I think they curve very generously. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, it's very important to lock in. Third thing, Amazon is not a thing in Korea. Instead, people use Coupang, which is pretty much just the Korean version of Amazon. Pretty sure you need a Korean phone number, which I had an eSIM and everything, but I had friends who didn't. They had trouble getting certain things, I believe. And another thing with buying things online, if you want to buy on Shein or I wanted to buy something on Cider, those online stores, because they're shipping internationally and you're not a Korean citizen, you have to get a custom code. Is that so the country receiving your package can instantly identify the items, correctly calculate import taxes and whatever you think. So basically, it's an extra step for foreign students or foreign people living there. And to get a customs code, I didn't get one, my friends got one. You need an ARC, which is an alien registration card. So if you are studying abroad for longer than the visa time, which is 90 days, you need to register for an alien registration card that allows you to stay longer and also travel inside and outside of Korea without immigration issues. And again, purchase things internationally. On this topic of shopping and buying things in Korea though, the next thing, number 4, is that there is no tipping in Korea. And I already knew this was a thing. I knew it was really common in East Asia to not tip. And I think in other countries as well. I knew that was something a lot of people didn't do, but experiencing it firsthand, I was like, hallelujah, bro. I miss it so much. I remember the first time I rode in an Uber, and instead of having a tip at the end, it was just rate your service. I was like, I could get used to this. Thank you. And ordering food delivery services. Again, Uber Eats. I think Uber Eats is a thing. I'm not sure. I was using Coupang Eats or Bayman. Those are the main 2 things people use for food delivery. But, there's no tipping. Even when I went to Japan after leaving to Korea, there was no tipping to my knowledge. At restaurants, when dining in, when Ubering, no tipping. I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss that. I was Ubering all the time, trust. Me and Uber were like this because I didn't have the tip, and the rides are obviously cheaper. On the topic of food, this next one, it was a big culture shock, I would say that. And that's the difference in food quality. The quality, wow. My skin, amazing. But what I will say, I have pretty severe allergies, and I know in Asia in general, in a lot of countries, peanuts, soy heavily. Korea, they love soy. I'm allergic to both of those things, and they are in a lot of dishes. And so that is what I was most nervous on. And unfortunately, I did have an allergic reaction while I was in Korea and had to go to the hospital. Yeah, I went to a little bakery. It was a little cafe, and I got a cookie. It was a Biscoff cookie. So I was like, okay, they probably won't have peanuts. I take one bite. My lips are swelling. I go to the bathroom trying to rinse my mouth. I was like, it's getting worse. I need to take my EpiPen, which is why I always have my EpiPen on hand. Turns out they use peanut oil in the cookie. I'm like, what? I've never heard of that before. Also, there was no ingredients list or anything. I know how to say I have a peanut allergy in Korean. I know what the word peanut is in Korean. I did not see an ingredients list. So yes, luckily I was literally right next to our school's hospital, but I had to go there and I had to, stay there. Definitely not as expensive as the US because I did not have Korean insurance, but it was a big scare, and it taught me to be a lot more cautious. I'm very grateful. It's very important because allergies aren't really a thing in Korea. People don't really have allergies, especially to especially to tofu or soy. That's not very common. You definitely have to be on the lookout. You have to be more aware of what you're eating. Always have Benadryl or EpiPens on hand. But I'm survived. I'm here. I ate good food and I'm fine. But another thing that also surprised me was how many diet stores there were there. Because of course, diet culture is crazy in Korea, and I already knew how extreme the beauty standards were. Because of course, I've spent 10 years interested in K-pop. Within that industry and that culture, there's so much diet culture. There's so much heavy beauty standards, and so I was aware of that. But being there in person, it was I feel like it was interesting. Answer 6, I don't have enough fingers. Of course, these are Korean beauty standards. They don't apply to me. I don't think they expect it to apply to me. And also, I think in the US, I'm a medium large. And so I was kind of apprehensive to be shopping, to be just living. I wasn't sure how I was going to go. And I will say that it's definitely in your face when shopping, because yes, I love to shop. I was nervous. Is Korea going to have my clothing sizes? I was prepared to not buy anything at all. The clothes are small. And I knew the concept of free sizes before coming to Korea, equivalent of one size fits all. But actually seeing that, and I was like, oh wow, they were tiny. This is how big they were, bro. However, that being said, I was able to buy a lot of clothes, fit into a lot of clothes, which shocked me. Fitting into a lot of shirts, I was like, I can fit these. Pants, not so much. I was not trying to fit into those. I actually surprisingly found some good pants. But, even that being said, it is obvious that the clothing sizes are meant to be on smaller bodies. They're small. This also goes hand in hand with food. There are a lot of different diet restaurants and diet stores, like Pepero or whatever. And there's a Zero store. And I watched Will Tenton. I love his videos, but he was in Korea while I was studying there, and he did a video on the insane beauty standards of Korea, how diet culture is there, everything. So I definitely recommend watching his video if you want to know more about it. But I think from my experience, it was definitely in your face. However, I was expecting it to kind of affect me negatively a lot more. However, in terms of the fair skin beauty standards, those definitely impacted me more because of course, I'm a foreigner. Being at school, walking around, I was getting stared at a lot. I like to think it's because I'm just so cool and aura farming and everything, but also just because I'm black. Although again, I don't think Korea is expecting me to follow these beauty standards. They're not for me. They're for Koreans. But again, being a dark-skinned woman and you see everyone in these UV protective rays because they're afraid of getting dark. I'm like, it's weird. And also talking about the UV protection, the moment it was getting warm, everyone had those UV umbrellas out. I think the UV protection, on one hand, I definitely understand. I love me some sunscreen. I put on my sunscreen. The idea that black people don't need sunscreen because we have melanin, I'm like that. we can still get sun cancer. I'm putting on my sunscreen. But in the same breath, I can also say the desire to be protected from the sun can also be because, I don't want to get tan. And so it's also kind of interesting seeing the differences because pretty much everyone in my program, a lot of Americans and everything, the moment it was getting bright and sunny outside, they're like, wow, I can tan. The UV is awesome. I can tan now. And Koreans are like, you gotta cover up. So it is, cultural differences and everything. Number seven. About things I wasn't prepared for and wish I knew more about was club culture and racism and the stereotype for Hongdae men and Hongdae. I was well aware of that. And I was also well aware of, some clubs being discriminatory and, kicking foreigners out, specifically Black people. And so that was one thing I was really nervous about. I remember the first time I actually went clubbing, it was in Itaewon. Luckily, it was a very positive experience. It was very fun. I had a great time. But for the most part, most of my friends and a lot of other people in my program were in Hongdae because I love me some Hongdae. And it is definitely more foreigner friendly. It is heavy on the foreigners, especially when, the weather was getting warmer and it was actually getting like tourist season, April, May, June. I will say, besides just the racism or whatever, which I'm very grateful I didn't face a lot of, you have to keep in mind that Hongdae, I feel like in terms of foreigners, they're like number one, foreigner central. So I feel like second is Itaewon, because although there was like one club when me and my other like Black friends tried to go, they were like, no. But once my Korean and like lighter skinned friends went, they let them in. So I was like, oh. But even then, they were kind of hesitant for like my foreigner friends who were like white or, fair. So I was like, okay, that's interesting, whatever. But apart from that, I feel like Gangnam is like the most bougie and probably the most discriminatory. I haven't been to Gangnam, but based on what I've heard and how, again, like exclusive it is, I wouldn't be surprised if they were even more kind of discriminatory. But, I had fun where I was welcome. So, whatever. I vibed. Another thing about clubs that are different is the club culture. There are usually promoters outside of every club trying to entice you to come into our club by saying, oh, we'll give you free bottles. And when I first heard that, I was like, free bottles? Vodka, tequila, it's watered down, but it's a lot. If you're a girl, because I can't speak for everybody, but they would say, oh, we'll give you a free table. And so we'd get into the club, they give us a free table, and with that, they'll give us a giant bottle of vodka or something. It tasted horrible, but it got the job done, and they'll give you a chaser. When you're thinking about leaving, they will stay by the entrance and say, no, we'll give you more bottles to stay at our club. Like, they'll give you more bottles. Free bottles, mind you. You don't have to pay unless you go to the bar and you want something different. At least before a certain time, because most of the clubs open around 10. I think if it's a really busy night, they might stop this offer like early. But that being said, if you have not drinking before, if this is your first time drinking this much and you don't know your limit, you will be cooked. Okay, at the beginning of the semester, everyone was partying. The amount of people that I knew, a lot of friends that had friends that were throwing up, passing out, getting insanely messed up because they did not know their limit was alarming. And I'm not going to say I happened to me once. It did, unfortunately. But you got to know your limit, especially with how cheap and how easy it is to buy drinks at such a high quantity. You got to be careful. It's so easily to get messed up. Another thing about Hongdae is Hongdae men are real. You got to be careful. But yes, I love the clubbing there. Next thing, Number 8, basic etiquette. This is a pet peeve of mine, okay? I feel like I knew, the cultures around opening doors for other people, that varies between country. I already knew that. Sometimes people would open the door for me or leave the door open or whatever. Sometimes they won't. I didn't really care. Something that pissed me off though, no one, how when you're younger, you learn, cough in your elbow. No one does that there. They cough in their hands. And I'm like, disgusted, like what? Who? What? Bro, oh my gosh, the first time I saw that on the metro, I was like, heck no. But another thing, again, I already knew about, before coming to Korea, because I know like Japan is the same way. It's that they're very quiet on the metros. I feel like Japan is even more quiet than Korea, because in Korea you can like talk, you can have conversation, just be respectful, keep it below a certain noise level. And I think in Japan you had to be like dead silent. One time, I will say, I was with a group of friends and we were getting ready to go out and clubbing, and it was a lot of us and we were loud. I wasn't really loud, but it was a lot of us, and this one older Korean guy, he really yells at it in Korean to be quiet on the metro. We're mad, but honestly, he got a point. We were loud, and it was like 10 p.m. at night, so I don't blame him. Another thing, well, that's pretty much it, actually. Number 9, hills. Wow. I did not realize how mountainous Korea was as a country, because if you know anything about Howard, they have a crazy hill, and I thought, oh, I go up this hill. I've been going up this hill for 3 years. I should be fine. I was not fine, because let me tell you, at Korea University, the student dorms were on top of this mountain of a hill. It was insane. And of course, I've watched YouTube videos of abroad vlogs, living in the dorms or whatever. So I've heard rumors about this hill. I've heard myths. I've heard stories and tales about this hill. First time I actually went up that hill, oh my gosh. Wow, it was actually crazy. It's like a 12-3-30 on steroids. It was insane. This hill is gonna kill me one day. Just kidding. I don't. And of course, I got used to it. And I remember one time I was on the phone with my dad while walking up this hill, and I'm out of breath, of course, because I'm walking up this hill fast, because I'm trying to get up there. I'm trying to get over it. And he's like,
"Oh, Leah, you don't work out, huh? It sounds like you need to work out more."
I'm like, first of all, I work out like every day. Excuse you. Second of all, you don't even know what this hill is like. And so he did come to Korea like a couple months later, and I was like, Dad, let's go up this hill. Let's go up this hill. And he was struggling, and I was like, walking up there easy peasy. I'm like, now you know how it is. But yes, pretty much all Korea is pretty hilly. Yeah, there are a lot of mountains. I didn't expect that. So we'll get a good glute workout in. Next thing, K-pop idol sightings. This one honestly shocked me, because I would always see videos about people in Korea just following giant crowds and then seeing K-pop idols everywhere. And maybe it's because I was a student and I was on campus most days and wasn't out and about as much as maybe you have to be to see this. But I didn't see really any idols just in the wild being normal people. I had some friends did that, LE SSERAFIM went to a pop-up or something, or Quartus was seen in the wild. But for the most part, I did not see nearly as many K-pop idols just out and about as I thought I would. Now, I did see a lot of K-pop idols, because Korea University has basically their version of Springfest or Homecoming, called Ypsilanti. And I think pretty much all Korea universities have this, festival where all these big idols will perform. So I did see a lot of idols. I love that. But just seeing them in the wild, definitely not as many as I thought. That is actually the last one, but I do have some rapid fire ones. First one, culture difference and trends. I feel like it's very minimalistic there, and also it's very trend heavy, color contacts, wearing certain things. And I'm honestly, even in America, it's very trend heavy, the boo-boos, everything, everyone wants the same thing. But I feel like coming in to Korea, again, being a Black woman, being a foreigner, but also having a very maximalistic style, that also got me more stares. So I just had to be comfortable existing, knowing that I was going to look different, and that's fine, whatever. But that was something. Another thing, concert differences. Like I mentioned, with the festivals all of these Korean universities will have, when we had ours, of course, they're big groups. We saw Quartus, LE SSERAFIM, TXT, aespa. We saw Psy. We saw so many different groups, and I love it, and I'm so happy. But they're hype. They make hype music, and so of course I'm jumping, I'm yelling the lyrics and everything. I'm having a grand old time. But the people in front of me, all they do is just record on the phone. And I already knew this was a thing, and I already knew this was an issue, but actually seeing it in person, it was low-key infuriating. Because and I don't think it's all of Korea, but at least my school, because I saw different schools where recorders performed and they had a mosh pits. I'm like, this is what we should have been doing. Why y'all need to lock in? It's a big difference. Some different cultures, so I can respect it, but I'll judge it. It's whatever. I'm just kidding. And then lastly, not knowing the language, I did take Korean before coming here, and I took Korean while having my semester here. That being said, I didn't know I could read stuff, I could understand things, I could say simple sentences, but also I was a little nervous actually speaking. But even if you don't know any Korean, you can survive. I'm very grateful that there was so much in English, very grateful that English is my first language and that it's such a widely used language outside of the US. So the audio cut out for the last bit of the video. So basically all I was saying there is that I'm grateful that English was very accessible, and overall I had the most amazing time in Korea. I cannot wait to go back. It was such a great and amazing experience. And in this video, in no way am I trying to shame Korean culture. Obviously there are gonna be cultural differences, and these were just some of the things I wasn't preparing for or I didn't know about. And so I really had a great time. I recorded so much footage while I was there that I haven't uploaded yet, because I kind of it was a lot of work. I was very busy. So if you enjoyed this study abroad content or want to know more about my time in Korea, stay tuned for some possible vlogs that will be coming from my time there. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great rest of your day or night or whatever.